Next up is the Big Ten Conference. Last year, Oregon beat Penn State in the Big Ten title game, a game that actually Dalton and I were both in attendance for. What will happen this year?
Look, I think it feels pretty clear who everybody, including you and I, think is the favorite in this conference with all the talent that Penn State has coming back, right? Basically the same team coming back, just without Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter. Now, those are two pretty darn good players. Those are two of the top 14 picks in the NFL draft, and they've already looked pretty great in the preseason with their NFL teams. But you look at the amount of talent Penn State has coming back. Drew Aller, the offensive line, both running backs, redid the receiving core. They always have new tight ends rolling in, like you're mentioning, right? I mean, Denai Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, A.J. Harris, Zachy. I mean, just everything you could ask for in a potential national title contender. I'm taking Penn State. And I was debating, there's some weird maybe tiebreaker scenarios when I went through this, and then I eventually just had to pick the team I think is more likely. I was debating between Ohio State or Oregon as the runner-up, but I went with Ohio State. I still think, look, Penn State has to get over the mental hurdle of beating Ohio State at some point, whether it's here in Columbus in, I think, early November, or if it's in this Big Ten title game. I'm going to take Penn State over Ohio State. I think Penn State is the most talented team. I think Oregon's very much a factor. The part where it gets weird is that Penn State plays both of them, but Oregon and Ohio State don't play each other this year in the regular season. And then if you're talking about sleepers in the Big Ten, you start to talk about the Indianas, the Illinois, maybe an Iowa, somebody like that. Nebraska's another one a lot of people are excited about. We'll see year 2 of Dylan Raiola. But right now, I still think the two most talented teams I feel the best about, Penn State over Ohio State.
I have the same exact prediction right there. Penn State over Ohio State as well. Donnie has Penn State over Oregon in the chat, and I almost went with that, but I just feel better about Ohio State right now. I think they'll probably lose. I think both Ohio State and Oregon will lose to Penn State in the regular season, but Ohio State plays Texas as well, so Ohio State could be a 10-2 team that goes to the Big Ten title game, even though Oregon's 11-1. Just the tiebreakers are too complicated for me to go through, so I feel better about Ohio State going into this year than Oregon. So I have Penn State over Ohio State. And actually, the Jim Knowles Bowl right there. Jim Knowles going from Ohio State to Penn State.
Of course.
Defensive coordinator right there. But you mentioned it right there. Penn State, they made the semifinals last year. Basically the same team from last year's back, aside from Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren, who, yes, are two superstars for Penn State last year. But the whole rest of the team is really back. And they brought in Jim Knowles, who, in my opinion, is arguably the best defensive coordinator that we have in college football. And I would say right now, Penn State has the best coordinator pairing in college football between Andy Koldenicki on offense and Jim Knowles on defense. Just a loaded team top to bottom. In my opinion, pretty clear top 3 teams right now in Clemson, Texas, and Penn State. So Penn State's winning the conference. And then Ohio State, who actually just today named Julian Sayin their starting quarterback for week 1, the 5-star quarterback coming out a couple years ago. You have the best receiving core in the country with Jeremiah Smith, the best player in the country at wide receiver. Max Clare coming in at tight end, top 3 tight end in college football. Some question marks on the offensive line and the defensive line, so really the trenches for Ohio State, but you have Caleb Downs, the best defensive player in the country at safety, a good linebacker unit with Sonny Styles there too. Yes, Ohio State lost a ton of players from last year's national title team, but still, it's Ohio State. They're always going to be at the top of the Big Ten, and I think they will get to the Big Ten title game after missing it last year.
Yeah, no, I think that's the tiebreakers are going to be a question. There's some fun head-to-head matchups that we're going to see. I mean, obviously, Oregon has to fly all the way out to Penn State to play them. Ohio State is hosting Penn State, and they've got even a couple other tough road games mixed in there. And then again, I'm really curious about the second tier of the Big Ten also, and if anybody, again, just finds that momentum. Nebraska, Indiana, again, we do not need to forget about Indiana. They still have a really good football team. If they pull an upset or two, they get to play Penn State, they get to play Oregon, right? All of a sudden, if Indiana messes around and beats one, if not both of them, you got a situation on your hands. A lot of people high on Illinois. They got a ton of teams returning. So the Big Ten, I think we get a feel for like who the 2 or 3 favorite. Michigan, let's not forget about Michigan now if they can find anything on offense, right, especially with Bryce Underwood. So I think it's going to be a little more tightly packed. I think last year, obviously, Indiana was really good, but their schedule allowed them to win, and it felt like they were clearly the 4th best team. The gap between the top 3 and maybe like 4 through 8 or 9 is a little bit tighter this year.
Absolutely. Donnie's a little upset with me in the chat for saying Jim Knowles is the best DC in college football because Phil Parker.
You know he loves Phil Parker.
Phil Parker actually probably is the answer there, but Jim Knowles is right up there too. I'll put there too. So shout out Donnie in the chat. But hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.